Welcome to Awakened Motherhood, the podcast where mothers share their powerful stories of healing and empowerment. I am your host, Amanda Quick, best-selling author, TEDx speaker, and advocate. In each episode, we dive deep into the stories of mothers who have overcome adversity, found their fierce feminine power, and embraced transformative parenting. Whether you're a mother driven to fight for your children or someone with a story burning inside you, this podcast is for you. Together, we'll explore themes of resilience, self-trust, and healing from our traumatic experiences, all spotlighting the profound journeys of awakened mothers. Join us for a space of naked authenticity, deep inspiration, and genuine connection. Embrace the divine feminine and discover your own warrior mama within. Welcome to Awakened Motherhood, where your story is the spark for change. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Awakened Motherhood. I'm your host, Amanda Quick, and today I am very excited to introduce my guest, Anne Joless. She is the president and CEO of G.R.A.C.E Incorporated, an author, professional coach, professional and TEDx speaker, and creator of G.R.A.C.E Trail. Over the past decade, she's shared this trail with thousands through physical trails like the original Plymouth Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Workshops, retreats, virtual experiences, and various products. I am really excited to get to know you and get to learn how G.R.A.C.E Trail came to be. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. It's really a pleasure. You know, from one hardworking mom to another, right? And I was sort of laughing about the name of your show because I'm saying the Awakened Mother. Most of us want to be like the mother taking a nap, right?
Yes.
But we are after our nap, we have the rest and the vitality to wake up.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Well, an awakened really speaks to multiple different aspects.
Oh, definitely.
It's really the
Please, I'm
awareness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The truth is many people are walking around asleep. So I totally get the whole waking up. It's aware, awake, alive. And then from there, we can bring back our best to the world. And that's what G.R.A.C.E Trail is all about. So it's a great intro. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, the beginning, usually when people come on and I give an introduction, there's kind of what is that? And so I love to go back to the beginning, and wherever the beginning is for you, what your life was like, the things that were going on, the challenges you faced, and really kind of share with us the inception of how all of this began.
Okay. Well, it's really funny too, because I'm thinking about how I grew up. Do you know what I mean? And how I grew up,
yes,
how that shapes who I am today. And I actually grew up in I was a fifth out of six. I call it a small Irish Catholic family. And and my mother was an alcoholic and my dad didn't make it home much. So we had lots of challenges in my family. And I had someone who read my book. And it was very interesting. And because I talk about how I grew up. And I learned so much. And my mom was sober the last 20 years of her life. And she was my best friend. So talk about awakened motherhood. She awakened at 58. So just lovely, lovely time. We were best friends for 20 years, which was wonderful. So someone read my book and she said to me, "This is a lie, your book." I said, "Why?" She said, "Because you couldn't live the life you lived and be the person you are today." She said, "That's not possible." Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
So to all
that
the
is interesting because all I hear is this is what it took to be the person you are today.
Yeah. I mean, it was what I was dealt. And what I said to my granddaughter, because I'm also a grandmother, what I said to my granddaughter yesterday, because she had something at the pool that she was swimming in that didn't go well. She had to leave early, whatever. I said, Savannah, it's not, we're all dealt bad things in life, challenges. It's what you do with them. It's what you're going to do with the rest of your day. Just don't keep thinking about that. That's out of your control. Now let's go have some fun. And, it's that spirit of pivoting and dealing with what's right in front of you that really is the awakened mother. Even in an 8-year-old, right? She's learning it then. So anyway, this whole Grace Trail is a beautiful story, which I'd invite your listeners to listen to my TEDx talk, which is called Cracking the Grace Code. And it tells the whole beautiful and I guess unbelievable story of how this all came about. But this is a moment when I woke up in my life as a mother. This is a moment when I was knocked flat in my kitchen by different, both of my parents had just died within 6 months of each other. I was changing professions, and I had two very creative, challenging teens. And you know what that means, I'm sure. And if you don't,
I do. I
you're
got
gonna
3
learn.
boys. No, actually today is my middle son's 13th birthday, so I am right there.
Whoa, that's really a watershed birthday. That's awesome. Does he still like you?
He does.
Oh,
He does.
well, happy birthday to him. That's awesome. So
Yes, I'm very close. I'm very close to my boys.
That's nice. That's wonderful. So I lost my balance at that point in my life when those really huge, I call it a tsunami, a life tsunami just knocked me right off my feet. And I found myself in my kitchen saying I need to step into a state of grace. And I didn't know what I meant by that, but I saw 5 words in the word grace, and those are gratitude, release, accept, challenge, and embrace. So it's an acronym. Grace is an acronym for those 5 beautiful words later on. And I was like, that's curious. I love that I could find that in the word grace. And later on that day, I started asking the 5 questions that naturally flow from those 5 words. Even though life is really difficult, what can you be grateful for? What do you need to release? R is release to move forward in your life. A is what's calling out for acceptance because it was a lot to try to accept back then. C is how would I like to challenge myself to move forward in the moment? And E is what can I embrace as possible in my precious life? I started asking those 5 questions throughout the day. Every time I asked, I felt better. I started calling my husband at work, and I don't recommend this, Amanda. Okay. Bad advice. Don't call your husband at work. But I'd call my husband, busy pediatrician, say, John, give me 2 minutes because I'm losing my mind. He'd say, do it. And I just run through the 5 questions. I found having someone witness me and listen to me was just as important as what I was trying to process. He said, do it. 1 to 2 minutes. I'd run through the 5 questions. And then he never said no. He always said, I have the time, do it. And that was a huge gift. When someone will listen to you is a gift. And so one night he came home and said, hey, let's do grace together. We started walking around the block every single night, the entire summer, asking and answering those 5 questions. And what we found out was, it was the first time anyone had really listened to us all day. And it was the first time all day that we got to reflect on what was going on inside of us and actually take it out and process it. And I think it saved our marriage, not that we were going to get divorced, but we were in a hard time and we had no language to get through the pain. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but you sort of get lost. Things are so bad and you just don't really know which way to go or what's your next best step towards better. And that's what this gave us. The Grace Trail gives you your next best step towards better, and better is your choice. Which way do you want to go? And so fast forward, my son grows up, and he's in the Army, and he's in combat in Afghanistan. Once again, what a hard time. And he did make it home. And so I found myself struggling, and I read an article. So I'm sort of telling this story fast, but you sort of need the context to understand Grace Trail. So I read an article about the Appalachian Mountain Trail, and it said, who's hiking the trail? And they said, it's a whole lot of veterans walking off their war. And I was like, really? Where do I go to walk off my war? Right? And I'm not comparing what I was going through to combat or anything veterans or veterans families go through. I'm not comparing, but it felt like a war inside me. And that was when I decided to make my own trail. And I went down the beach, picked up some big beach stones, and I wrote gratitude. What are you grateful for? And I put it down on a trail in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where I live, right by the harbor. I did all 5 words along this beautiful trail. I mean, it's inspirational points, just gorgeous. And hung up maps, just paper maps, and thumbnailed them into a sign that was there, and fully expected a cease and desist. because I don't own the land. You said you wanted to know,
Yeah, no, I
how
do.
we got
I love
here.
this.
And,
Keep going.
huh? What'd you say?
Yeah, no, keep going. I love it.
Yeah. Well, this is how it all really happened. And I didn't know if anyone would ever come. And thousands of people have come. It's like a destination. People read
Amazing.
my book. I have a book called The Grace Trail, Find Your Footing and Move Towards the Life You Were Meant to Live. They read that. They buy my products, whatever. I've spoken a lot. I'm on a lot of videos, and people find the Grace Trail somehow. And they find their way to Plymouth. And they were walking the
Wow.
Grace Trail. I'd walk outside and I'd see wedding parties, bereavement parties, divorce groups, high school reunions, family reunions, everything from the whole spectrum of emotion was walking Grace Trail together. And they stop. So what you do when you're walking Grace Trail is you get to your first word and question, what are you grateful for? And you either do it alone and answer it as you're walking. You allow nature to help you find your answers. I don't know about you, but when I get outside and hear those birds chirping and that beautiful sunshine, my answers are different than they would be
Yeah.
if I sat at my desk and never got up. So um, that's what it is. You ask that question. Hopefully, if you're walking with someone, you ask them the question, they answer, and you listen. Then they ask you the question, you answer, and they listen. And then you're doing this as you're walking to the next stone to get the next question. That's the essence of Grace Trail. And so what has happened since that first trail in 2012, when my son was in Afghanistan, is that I have 10 trails across the country now, and they're licensed trails. People come to me. I did no advertising. People came to me and said, I got to have a Grace Trail. And so we have 10 beautiful trails across the country, one on a 100-acre horse farm in Texas. I have 2 in Wisconsin in beautiful state forest, and one is in this lovely little neighborhood park. And they've hidden 23 hand-forged metal forest animals that they hide in the woods along the way. I mean, it's beautiful.
Oh, fun.
It's mystical. I have one in Connecticut elementary school, which makes me so happy because I could have used this language when I was a kid to help me through the mud that I was going through. And so I just love that. And I love them all. They're all so different. Every single trail takes on their own unique identity and their own unique personality. There's another one in Connecticut, which is on a town green and a town where it surrounds the whole green, where there's tennis courts, softball courts, pickleball, everything. So it sort of walks right around the life of the town. It's a beautiful, beautiful East Lyme, Connecticut Grace Trail. And then University of Massachusetts, Boston has a Grace Trail that embraces their whole university on the Boston Harbor Walk. It goes right on the edge of the Boston Harbor. It's spectacular. And it's there for the students, it's there for the community, the staff, faculty, and the families who are coming for graduation soon. We're going to have a great event in there soon. Just a lot of fun. A lot of students will be attending, walking the Grace Trail with lots of inspirational activities to go along. That's for Mental Health Awareness Month. And also National Grace Trail Month is next month in May. So there's those two things.
Fun.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, you can go to my website and you can see there's a banner right at the top that says National Grace Trail Month, and you click on that and you can read about that. And all of the trails are on my webpage. So you can actually go and see each of these trails and how people are walking it and talking it. And so anyway, we now have 10 trails, and I'm talking a lot. So I think it's your turn. You have any questions?
No, it's all good. I love the evolution. And I think
it's crazy.
And the physical manifestation of it, right? What started as a way to process for you, and then a way to build connection and support with your spouse has now become this bigger thing. And I think it says a lot to the potency of what happens when we just keep going and we keep sharing and we keep talking and we get another little crazy idea to go build a thing in your backyard, and then it it multiplies. And, I don't think I don't know how much you know about my story, but I have been through the ringer myself. My book is called The Sex Trafficker's Wife. My ex-husband was arrested for human trafficking. And so I lived a very chaotic experience myself. And my unraveling was something that most people think that couldn't possibly have happened, or you couldn't possibly be like
Right.
that same version of you
Right.
couldn't be this person going through this thing. XYZ is absolutely my reality. And still, I look back at all of that and I have found gratitude in each of the experiences because that experience allowed me to become who I am now.
Right.
And I don't, not that I would wish it to be repeated or to go through the trauma and the chaos again, but without it, I wouldn't be who I am. And so
Right.
I can still find those lessons. And I love how the word turned into an acronym. I have a similar one, but it's much shorter. The art of storytelling, but art is accept, release, transform, which is very similar in a lot of ways
Oh,
to
yeah. Yeah.
kind of your words,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the steps we need to go through
Yeah.
to be okay with where we are and to
Right.
build understanding and alchemize these really challenging situations
Right.
and kind of turn it into something that we can utilize and we can have momentum. And the gratitude is really a big piece that almost comes after the transformation, because it really is a full circle, right? It's kind of, we go through and then we get new gratitude for this next piece. And so it's not a one and done thing,
No, there's
which I
not a
think
one
is
and done.
beautiful.
And every time you walk Grace Trail, you'll have a different
Right,
experience. And I feel
right.
a little differently about gratitude in that I'm so grateful that G is the first letter in Grace,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
I think if we started every morning, every
Mhm. Mhm.
conversation, sitting at dinner, when your kid gets off the bus with the question, what are you glad about? What went
Mhm.
right for you
Yep.
today? What made you
Yep.
smile? That's the language of gratitude.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love the expression, if you never learn the language of gratitude, you'll never be on speaking terms with happiness. That is
Oh,
true.
I like that.
That's very
I like
true.
that.
Yes. And so the Grace Trail starts with gratitude. So your first step on the Grace Trail elevates your spirit. So
Right.
after you ask, what am I grateful for? All the other four questions, the answer is going to be different. Just think of
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
So it's really a
Mhm.
nice setup to start to look for the strength, the integrity, the things you appreciate in the next
Yeah.
answers. It's a wonderful way, but you don't have to do G.R.A.C.E. in that order. You can just choose a question, one of those
Yeah.
five that needs to be asked at that moment. That's the other thing that you can do, is you can start anywhere. So
Right. Right. It's not always linear and it comes up at
no,
different times, but
right.
it's all important.
Yes.
And really just being able to walk that process physically is such a beautiful thing,
Yeah.
because I think so many people, we sit, and I know I've been guilty of this, where we read all the self-help books, or we, maybe even people who talk to a therapist or coach, but they're still in their house behind a screen, and it's all intellectualizing it. But there's something about walking it and embodying the process. And while we're
Right.
still speaking it out,
Right.
we're doing so with all of us instead
Right.
of just this kind of disconnected, well, I know what I'm supposed to say. So, right. It's not the
Yeah.
same thing.
No, it's not the same thing. No, and just think about, as a mom, being able to teach your
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
give your kids a new language, a healing language, a language for resilience, a
Yep.
language to process their difficult moments. Just think of that. I talked to a teacher at the Westwood School in Hamden, Connecticut last week. She was one of
Yeah.
the original founders of the Grace Trail that runs around this elementary school. She uses the Grace Trail in her classroom. Most of the
Amazing.
teachers are using it in their classroom. And I did develop a product so that you don't have to find one of the 10 Grace Trails. I'll just show it to you
Mm.
quickly. It's called a trail in a box. And you can get it
Oh,
on my
fun.
website. Yeah, you can get it on my website. And it's just these are laminated. The ones you get are not laminated. I laminated these because I use them outside. But it's just the questions. So you could set up your own trail. You open it up,
Well,
there
and
are
how
little
great
glued.
for teaching in classroom. Like,
Yeah. She said it's helping with the kids who English isn't their first language because everyone in the morning they're talking. If they run into a problem in school and everyone's kind of stuck, she'll say, "Let's go walk the Grace Trail,"
yeah,
and they go outside. And she'll say, "Where do you want to start? Which question should we be asking?" Which is so cool. These kids are
love it.
actively creating their day, actively engaging in compelling conversations. And it's all about resilience. It's all
Hmm.
about
Hmm.
resilience. What can I brace as possible? Um,
Yeah,
so if you can't get to a Grace Trail, and let me
yeah.
send you one of these because I'd love you to have one. But if you
Oh, I
can't get to a Grace Trail,
absolutely.
you can hang it in your house. So when you open it
Yeah,
to get your coffee in the morning, there it is. What am I grateful for? Or where you're all brushing your teeth. Put it right there. That's a great way to start your
yeah,
day, right? For the kids.
yeah.
And so I asked
No, I
her,
love it.
yeah, asked her, how do you talk to kids about this? Because what do you need to release? That's a hard thing
Hmm.
to explain to kids. A 13-year-old, it's not that hard. But if you get
Right.
to the release question, what's nice about the release question is there's two parts to it. So when you want to let go of something, you have to figure out what's in your control and what's out of your
Hmm.
control. Okay. So where do you spend most of your day? Oh, we spend it over here. What's out of our control? Thinking about it,
It's
worrying
usually what
about
we're
it.
anxious about. Yeah,
Huh? Yeah. What are you anxious,
yeah.
all going on? That's all out of your control. Let it go. Put it over there. Think about what part of that situation's in your control. Put all your energies there. That's the hallmark of a resilient person who's in the middle of a challenge and says to themselves, what is in my control? Focus your energies there and put the other to the side. That's release. That's letting go. Your 13-year-old would get that.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
acceptance,
no, actually all three of my boys would get that.
they would.
We
Okay.
have they have lots of conversations. My youngest is 10,
Okay.
and we have lots of conversations around what we can control, what we can't, intent versus impact, the big emotions
Yeah.
and understanding when they take over
Nice.
and how we can work with them. I mean, my kids and I have been through hell and back
Okay.
and know, and so there's been such opportunity as I've gone through the healing journey to uh, find ways to include them in various ways, and
Right.
and really even if I'm not directly saying everything I'm going through, they feel it because
Yeah.
the shift in me has created a different relationship with them, and so they're much more aware of the ways the energy and emotions and other people impact them and what they can do and how
That's
they can
wonderful.
advocate for themselves and all of that. But
Right.
this came about because of the experiences that we had together and then how we had to come out of it on the other side. it's
Right.
it's created me as a different kind of mom than I used to be, and that's
Yeah.
another thing that I am deeply grateful for because I have a different relationship with my boys because of it.
Hmm.
And they have different language around it. But, one of the biggest reasons that I'm drawn to working with moms and speaking to moms is not just because I am a mom, but because that when we help the moms heal and we give them language, that always ripples down to the kids
Right.
because as moms, our kids literally come through us.
Right.
And even if they don't like us or they don't want to, they're still connected to us. And so much of these trauma patterns and these challenges are really passed down from mom to child.
Right.
And so even after your kids are born, it's not too late. You can still do so much work and that immediately impacts the kids. And so, to me, you heal the moms, you heal the kids, you change the world.
Yeah.
And so that's my bigger goals is to find and reach more and more moms to realize how much both power they have as well as how much potential they can use to transform these experiences and to help themselves and their children in a different way.
I agree. And, it's funny because I've talked about for gratitude, R for release, and A for acceptance, because I think,
Yep.
the R and the A in grace are where it gets a little sticky. And that's where
Yeah.
some of the tough stuff is. Everyone loves the G for gratitude and loves the E for
Of
embrace the
course.
possibility, but grace gets a little messy in the middle.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so
That's where the messy part
that's
is.
the messy part, the release and the acceptance. And so acceptance, people say to me, I can't accept that. I say, well,
Yeah.
that's fine. Don't. What I'm going to ask you to do is acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Just acknowledge the elephant in the living room. If you can't accept it, just say it is what it is. And that's it. You're right there acknowledging. Because on the whole spectrum of acceptance, first of all, you have denial. A lot of people live in
Right.
denial that they don't even see the problem. So the next step
Correct.
out of denial is to see it. Just
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge it. And then acceptance will come in its own time. You
Yep.
can't force it, but as you acknowledge it, you slowly start to walk towards acceptance. And I think that helps a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, moms, dads, whoever are
Yeah.
grieving.
Yeah.
You just can't
Yeah.
accept it. Okay, that's fine. Then just sit with what it is.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. And
yeah,
I was going to say, for me, once we go to acceptance, I actually go a step further to accountability, where what's my part, but not responsible for everybody's, but the part that I played, because I'm not just accepting this happened to me, but I need to be accountable for my participation as
well, you're
well.
not a victim. That's what you're saying.
I'm not exactly, and so, but while we're in denial, we certainly can't be accountable
Right,
at all. It
right,
doesn't work.
right,
Right? So that's
right,
not even happening. And then we get to the point where we accept that it's happening. We still don't like it, but we're in the present.
right,
But I found so much power where I started to see the part I played, not taking on
right.
the entirety of it, but at least, when something happens to you and you don't walk away, you need to be accountable for your participation, no
Absolutely.
matter what reasons are.
Right,
And that was the hardest, most shameful parts for me, was to be accountable for my choice to not see, to
right,
stay in denial. That was still a choice, even an unconscious one, that I needed to find forgiveness in myself for making.
right. And that brings us to C. What is your challenge? That's what you're doing. What
Yep.
do I do with
Yep.
the knowledge I'm gaining from release and acceptance? What can I do? And so challenge is not what's my next challenge on my to-do list. See, this
Right.
is just what you said. Challenge is, what is the next challenge of my choice that moves
Hmm.
me in the direction that I want to go? That is an empowering, transformational question that moves you into action.
Hmm.
So that's,
Yeah.
as you speak, there, every single step on the grace trail, you are walking and talking right now. And I love challenge. It's about courage to get out of your
Hmm.
comfort zone, right?
Hmm.
It's about commitment. When you say, I'm going to do this, do it.
Yep.
It's about curiosity. That's why I love Grace Trail. It's about, I don't have your answers. Grace Trail is going to help you find your
Hmm.
answers in just this moment. That's how it works. And that's why courage, curiosity, and compassion are the foundation of Grace Trail. And our
I love
last
it.
question is E for embrace the possibilities. What
Right.
can I embrace as possible in my precious life? And if you're trying to ask a kid, a young child, I had a mother say to me the other day that she says to her child, what if I had a magic wand? What
Mm.
would you create in your life?
What could you do?
What could you do? What could you do in your life if you had a magic wand? And that kids are like, oh, I know what I could do, and so so the challenge for moms and dads and
Yeah.
grandparents are to find the language to
Yeah.
reach the kids that they understand for these powerful transformational questions, which are well within their reach, believe me.
100%.
And this teacher was great. She said that at the beginning of the year, people don't want to answer the questions because, answering these questions makes you vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Because
You have
someone
to
might
be
not,
seen in a different way, that, oh, I'm feeling these
yeah,
things,
you
and we
might get in
don't talk
trouble
about
too.
that.
You might get in trouble too. So, she said at the beginning of the year, they're very quiet. And as people walk through and realize it's a trusting environment, that they start to open up more, and they learn from listening to the other students. And what she said is the most wonderful thing is when, like, if someone's stuck on, what can you embrace as possible? And they're like, I don't know. And she said, a little girl stood up the other day and she said, I think I've seen you ice skate. You could be a great ice skater. So what she's finding is the kids see the potential and possibility in other kids. And in a safe environment, they share that, and that helps the other kids. They can all learn.
Yeah.
Just as any workshop or any presentation I give, everyone learns from listening to everyone else what the answers to these questions are. It's pretty cool. So, we have trails, but you can set up a trail in your house, or people are setting them up in their boardroom, in their conference room, and they're using them during team meetings. People are using them at their churches, their schools, and some are walking, some aren't walking, and some are, you can journal on it. On my website, I have a great journaling exercise if you want to go to gracetrail.com. And it says, here's something for 2025, a gift for you. And you can download a really nice inquiry and journaling.
I feel like you could make a children's book with a more kid-friendly questions, like you were just saying. That would be another potential thing.
Yes. There's so much that can happen. And the potential is unlimited. It really, who doesn't need a grace trail? And with the crazy world right now, the world is so crazy that to have this language and to have this out in the world is really a gift. I'm looking for larger partners, corporations who maybe want to put them into neighborhoods where people are struggling. I'd love for them to do that, or corporations to bring it in-house for their teams and help their teams to be more resilient and vital. And I'm thinking where moms hang out. Where do mom coffee shops? It would be great in a coffee shop.
Coffee shops.
Yeah.
Facebook groups. Like there's lots of young play group places, the like libraries and kids section and different things like that. I was spent 6 years as a stay-at-home mom, and so it was all mom groups when my kids were little. And it's playgrounds kind of thing. And then now as they're teenagers, it's very different. I truly don't leave the house as much as I probably should, because I'm a solo single parent and have 3 kids.
And you got to be around.
So
you got to be around.
Exactly. Yeah. But at the same time, even a grocery store, like you would never know, but people are there all the time, and they think they're on their day to day, but there's all kinds of stuff that we carry with us everywhere we go. Right. We carry so much burden, so many things we're in our head about that we don't even know we're carrying most of the time.
No. Just go to I said to my husband, I hate to shop after work because I see the mothers and the fathers coming in. They're exhausted. The kids are exhausted, and everyone's hungry. It's like a really hard time on families. That time right there is times when a lot of things fall apart. A long day for everyone, exhausted, hungry, trying to get dinner, trying to get everyone, and they end up at the food store. It's hard. I think I mentioned my husband's a pediatrician, so he took all these signs and he hung them up vertically in his office. So G.R.A.C.E, and he put Post-it notes in front of it with a pen. And all the moms and the dads and the grandmothers and the kids write the answers to the questions, and they stick it up all over the walls.
Oh, fun.
It is fun.
What a fun activity.
What'd you say?
And what a fun activity.
It's a fun
honestly,
activity.
A pediatrician's office is perfect.
It's perfect. It's perfect. I've seen the same thing in a recovery center, substance abuse recovery center, where people go and they're sitting and they're waiting to be seen medically or get their medications. It's right up there on the wall. It's any place where people can just reflect. Waiting rooms are a great place to use this trail kit. It's called Your Trail Kit. And there's lots of fun ways to do it. I have one person, Rachel, who was the founder of the East Lyme, Connecticut Grace Trail. She has it in her house. Like I said, she opens her cabinets. She'll see the sign. She has one on the mirror when she gets up. So she has her own private Grace Trail throughout her house, throughout her day. And
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
A lot of fun.
I love it. I love how simple it is. And also at the same time, within that simplicity, you can go deeper and deeper into each section
Exactly.
as you need it. I mean, sometimes with a kid, it's just, I'm mad at Susie for taking my toy and
Yeah,
I need to process. That's okay.
that's
But
okay.
that's setting up an example for the bigger stuff that comes later, right?
Right. Right.
And the simplicity is, it's easier to remember, it's easy to do, but that repeated process of moving through and letting things go and embracing the possibility, all of it is really so simple and so profound at the exact same time.
Yeah.
I really love it.
Thank you. I mean, I'd love to take the credit for it, but actually I feel I was divinely gifted. I really
I understand. You're
can't.
just the vehicle in which it came through and you took action on it.
That's exactly right. And,
Yes.
that's what, when you say awakened, you
Yes.
have to be
Exactly.
awake in your life to notice when grace shows up. That
Yeah.
was grace. When I was in my kitchen, basically knocked over in 2000. And then I saw this. I said, I need to step into a state of grace. I was looking for the eye in the storm over there. I was trying to get somewhere. I couldn't move. And to have that come throughout the day and then have my husband say, let's walk grace together. It was like,
Hmm.
it just was a gift. And whether you believe in divine gifting or not, it doesn't matter. You try to explain how this happened. And this is 24 years later, and this is going
Yep.
strong, and it's going across the country. And so you
Beautiful.
try to figure that out. When I was in my kitchen, I wasn't saying, this is going to be a good resiliency tool for mothers or fathers. You know, it just,
Yeah, no, when I was in the thick of it, I certainly did not say the same thing,
right.
and I also had what I believe was divine intervention in the
Yeah.
story, and
Yeah.
I 100% it woke me up to possibilities that I had not really felt and believed before because there was no other way to explain
There's no
the
way.
the way that this
Yeah.
happened,
Yeah.
and the shift in me was so dramatic and so fast in the way that rippled out into my reality
Yep.
and my external life could only be explained that way, and it sent me down a different path because of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of, I sort of hate to say that because it turns people off, and it's
Yeah.
like,
This show is open to the woo woo, so
yeah,
if
and
they've been
I don't know
listening
if
to
it's
me
woo-woo.
long
So
enough.
I will say this: the universe provided
Yes.
a wonderful gift and
Yes.
solution to a time in my life as a mother, as a wife, as a friend that I was struggling beyond belief. And I actually got to meet Oprah this December at the
Oh,
Massachusetts
oh my
Conference for
gosh.
Women. Yes. And I got a chance to say to Oprah, because I had like this, you could go on my website and see the video of, I had a booth, a 50-foot long booth, and people
Um,
walked the Grace Trail. 11,000 women had the access to it. And so I had this photo op. Talk about the universe provided. I don't know how I got an invitation to a photo op with Oprah, but I got one. And I was standing in line, and I realized was going to have 10 seconds to talk to Oprah. And this is what I said when I got up there. I said, Oprah, I put a gift bag in your waiting room for your speaker waiting room today. In the gift bag is my rising. That's what your show is about. How did you
yes.
rise up out of the ashes and the
Yes.
debris of your life? And that's what
Yes.
she had spoken at the Massachusetts
Mhm.
Conference for Women. And so I said, my rising is in the bag I gave you, and it's called the Grace Trail. Will you look at it? She said, yeah, I will. Whether she does or not, I don't know. Let's all hope. Put it out there. Hey, Oprah, take a look, will you?
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing. So many amazing things have happened, and, I think there's a lot of amazing ahead for the Grace Trail, and I certainly hope there's a lot of amazing ahead for you, and I think the
Oh, well,
work you're
thank
doing
you.
is
Thank you
great.
so much.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and you hit the nail on the head. This show is really about sharing that rising, sharing the
Yeah,
overcoming journey, and focusing on the power that we as moms have to really birth these things into life as we understand and transform so much, and to support our children and eventually support others with the same pieces. And
and
speaking into these stories
right.
is what I'm trying to do and to share.
Yeah, and so this is where Grace Trail fits in there. You need the energy, the vitality, the,
Yes.
uh awakeness to be able to do what you just said. By walking
Exactly.
the 5 questions on the Grace Trail, it will rejuvenate, it will reset your perspective, it will redirect your energies so that you are able to reframe. Reframe is what's possible,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Exactly.
Reframe and move in the direction of your choice. That is the power of Grace Trail. And that's, I wish more moms could walk it, and I wish their kids knew the language. And I keep saying husbands, but partners, whatever, families, extended families could walk the Grace Trail and experience their own rising and experience their own rejuvenation of energy so they can go back out in the world and help us all.
Yeah.
We need it.
Yeah. Right. 100%. I mean, none of us can do it alone. None
No,
of us want to do it
no,
alone. We all want more people to understand, to become a part of this transformation that
yep,
we all know and feel the world is capable of.
yep,
And
definitely.
I mean, ultimately, we all are looking for a world that is much more united and is much more collaborative and is no longer divided and us versus them and all this craziness and insanity happening out there. We all know that's not the way. We
Right,
know that.
right,
It's
right,
a matter of coming together and really creating a new way,
right.
because I don't really feel like we have much of an example of another way of operating, but we
No,
know there is a way.
no,
We just
there
have to
is. You have to
trust
walk that
ourselves.
way. We have to walk towards it. And I say
Exactly.
you don't always have to understand grace, but if you live your life with courage, curiosity, compassion, and you be the grace, you will be
Yes.
walking towards it. Um, one step towards better. That's all we can do sometimes. And
Absolutely.
very exciting because this May is going to be National Grace Trail Month. And all 10 trails across the United States are doing fabulous events. And if you go to, I hope you can share my social media
Yes, I will
URLs.
share all of the links in the show notes. So
Okay.
I will share your
Uh,
website, gracetrail.com. I will share links to your book and
and
any other links that
I will send you
you
all
want to
of my
post.
social media
Perfect.
platforms, how people can find me, because that's where all of the trails, the National Grace Trail Month, excuse me, all the events will be shared all across the country. We're going to do that. And so I'd love for everyone to join me on
Yes.
social media and go to my website, see what's going on. And like I said, it's a conversation. Grace Trail is a conversation of hope and possibility, and I'd love for everyone listening to join us in that conversation.
Well, I think that is a beautiful, beautiful mission,
Thank you.
and I will absolutely share everything. And I think this is a perfect place to just to end the conversation.
Yeah,
Is that just ties it all up right there?
right
Is
there.
an invitation to join, to be a part of this movement, really,
Yep,
to give people the language and inspiration to operate and walk their lives,
yep,
really, with grace in a different
right,
way. And I just absolutely love that. And
right.
I can't thank you enough for taking that inspiration, taking that divine intervention and moving with it and actually creating something from it. So many people, even if they were hit on the head, they don't go do something with it. And I know it took time and evolved, but you really created something beautiful. And I'm honored to be able to know you and to share this and to help
Same here.
elevate your message.
Same here. You're doing great work. So thank you very much. And
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
yep, welcome to Grace Trail.
I love it. I love it. Well, for all the listeners, that's it for today, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks again, Anne.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Awakened Motherhood. I hope today's episode inspired you and offered support for your journey. Remember, your story has the power to ignite change, and your resilience is a testament to your strength as a mother. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Share it with other mothers who might benefit from our stories of empowerment and healing. I invite you to connect with me on social media platforms at Amanda Quick Healing, or visit my website, amandaquickhealing.com, for more information on other ways to work with me. Until next time, keep embracing your divine self and discovering your warrior mama within. Thank you for being part of Awakened Motherhood, where your story is the spark for change.